Segment. And hello, hello, hello. Welcome to I Am Not Your Chantress of Everything Fabulous and Beautiful. I am Reverend Dr. D, filling in for Elizabeth Stewart, who is on assignment. And we have a very special assignment today. We're going to be talking with our very special guest, Jules Salbo. She is a multi award winning novelist, playwright, and screenwriter whose original work explores an individual's need for really, justice, love, and a sense of belonging. She's written for legends like George Lucas. Let's see, Aaron Spelling. I don't recognize any of these names other than
Yes.
the big movies they've made.
Mhm.
George Romero, Sissy Spacek. I really enjoy watching that woman play on the stage and screen and so forth.
She's
Gina
wonderful.
Davis. Oh, that woman's tall too. And for
Mhm.
Disney, Universal, MTV, Columbia Pictures, and a whole lot more. Jewel, welcome. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Richard.
I'll tell you, I'm not sure that that's the direction my life is going to go, writing a bunch of stuff. I just talk and I ask questions. And it's fascinating where people come from. You're here to promote a particular piece of work that you have put together, if I'm not mistaken. Tell us about that.
Well, the Ojai Performing Arts Theater they're in rehearsals right now for Mary Shelley, Year with No Summer, which is a play that I wrote, and Richard Camp is directing it, and it opens on um, August 8th, I think, and it plays for 2 weeks. And So I'm very excited to come to Ojai and see what the actors and what the director's done with the script. It's Mary Shelley was always somebody that fascinated me, just because she was so young when she was started writing, and she had such an interesting but kind of troubled past, and she had kind of really difficult challenges in her life all the way along. And of course Frankenstein is just, you know,
Hmm.
everyone knows Frankenstein.
Mary Shelley, A World with No Summer. Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad tidings, but I would love that. See, I was born and raised in Phoenix, so I've had my share of summers. So a world
Mhm.
without summer would be just fine. But I also know that it would also create havoc in our food production in terms of farming and what have you, because a lot of
Yeah.
great things grow in the summer.
Well,
Why?
this is the official title is Year with No Summer, and it's based on there was a big, huge volcano in the New Guinea area that
Oh,
exploded in 1813, 1814, and it was so huge that it sent black smoke all over the world and especially Europe. So there was really all you could see was this gray, kind of smoky sky for almost a whole year. So there was no summer that year she was spending the time in Switzerland.
well, now again, and I want to say this with all due respect, and I do mean that to the folks in Ojai. With all of the accolades that you have, why Ojai? Why this theater? Why this play there as opposed to, say, Santa Barbara or Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, etc.?
Well, playwrights go where the theaters are interested in their work. Um, it's just it's the theater that called me. Richard Camp is the director, and I've known him for many, many years in LA. He was a TV writer also, and a great guy, and a great director, and a great writer. And so we've always seen each other's work, and we've always read each other's work that we're working on. And he just called me up and said, "I'd like to direct this. I want to sell it to the theater, see if they'll do it." And I said, "Great." It's just very difficult to find homes for your plays, especially because this play, it only has 6 characters. But because I wanted to give that sense of horror on the stage and lightning and thunder, and and the past kind of tripping into Mary's psyche. It does have a little bit of production values.
Hmm.
Um, so it's interesting because I live in Portland, Maine now, and there are three theaters that I go to quite often. One, it would be too small to do this play. The stage just wouldn't be big enough. And then the other one has a very um, an audience that's very loyal, but probably not an audience that is going to want to see a horror play.
Hmm.
And it's really a biography. No, it's not a biography. It's a smidgen in time of when this happened. Um, so yeah, there's so many things theaters take into consideration when they decide what plays to do. And so I was just very excited when Richard wanted to do it. And also I trust Richard so much.
Ah. Well, now you live in Portland, Maine, which is not a huge community, but I will say that they are, based upon what I have just read and what we're talking about, they're blessed to have you there as part of their theater ensemble, if you will, and that aspect. And quite honestly, any place else that has someone who has the credentials that you do have. I'm curious about your upbringing in terms of the theater. When did the right term, the theater bug bite?
I think so. Yeah, yeah. I think when I was a little kid, I grew up in Fargo, North Dakota. And I was putting on plays in my garage from early as I can remember, writing plays. I had a group of friends in my neighborhood. We all acted in them and charged everybody else 5 cents to come. And it was just started there. And then I had wonderful teachers along the way. Um, but yeah, it was interesting because my father was an attorney, and at one point when he saw that I just loved writing so much, he just got this box out of his office and said, "Hey, look what I did when I was in college." And he had written these really fun comedy sketches, small plays,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I can't even remember the name, Tennis Mystery or Nets to You or something like that. And I guess you know he seemed to have had he was a corporate attorney, very very logical mind, and I didn't really know that he had that creative bug. So it was really fun when he shared that with me.
Mm. Now you're now focusing, even though obviously you're working on this play with Richard there in Ojai, coming up August 8th. You are also a novelist. What specific genre do you write?
Well, I write in two genres.
Okay.
Right now, I'm in the middle of trying of a mystery series, crime mystery series. It's called the D. Rommel Mystery Series, and it's a 10 book series. Starts at 10 days and it goes backwards: 10 days, 9 days, eight, and I'm going all the way to one. Right now, I'm on 6 days, and it's been really great to do it. The protagonist lives in Portland. She lives right around the corner from me in my imagination,
Hmm.
and she's working for Gordy Greer, her godfather, and she was a cop who had an on-the-job injury and really waylaid her for a long time and really affected her physicality. So she's deciding whether am I going to go back to the police department or is a private investigator a better place for me because I have more freedom. There's no hierarchy except for Gordy Greer, her boss, and um, and she's just a really tough cookie, smart, and determined. She's not reckless, but she just goes for it.
Mm. You know, the one thing that initially frustrated me, specifically about movies, and like, you can do this in theater, I know, is how they would jump back and forth in time. You know, and
Mhm.
sometimes they wouldn't put up a little 3 years earlier, 3 years
Yeah,
later. present day, 3 years early. I mean, it would go on and on like this. And it took me a while to figure out that they were doing this. I'm curious, is that a technique that you have used in any of your writings, screenplays, movies, etc., or even the your book? Although I would think it would be a challenge to follow a book if it was jumping from one time zone, and I'm talking going back in time and then back to the future and so forth.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't use that. I mean, I know you're talking about writers, directors like Chris Nolan, and uh, he does that quite a bit. No, I tend to like a linear story.
Hmm.
Obviously, you want to get into your characters' heads so that you can their memories can just be there, and you get to know them through their memories and things that have happened in the past that affect what they're doing right now. Um, I'm trying to think. Gosh, I don't think that I've ever done anything like that. And right now I'm working on a short story, and it's interesting that you said that because this morning it was all about, well, should I use present tense here or past tense? And I realized, no, 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 it should all be past tense because it's a lot of it is in her head memory and then the story that she's telling.
Yeah.
So it's just sometimes it's mind-boggling for writers to try to figure out um, you know, how to do that. And I agree, if it's not done really um, clearly, I get a little frustrated too. But sometimes that's what the movie director, writer wants you to be confused.
Yeah, that's right. So that they can spring the gotcha moment at the end, and you don't even see it coming. It's like that
Yeah.
one scene in that one movie that we all know. I see ghosts. And then you get to the end of the movie and you find out that the main character, not the kid, was the ghost, but you
Yeah.
didn't put it together. This is fascinating. Now, uh, I am, of course, a creature of habit in that I love the audio realms. It's not that I don't watch videos. It's not that I don't watch movies, television. I don't go to the theater occasionally. But one of my favorite genres is radio theater. And I
Uh,
grew up listening to E.G. Marshall on CBS radio and E.G. Marshall's Mystery Theater. I think that's what it was called.
I'm writing
And
that down.
yeah, and we listened to that as kids when we would drive the 60 miles from Phoenix to Florence, Arizona to visit my grandmother. When we were
Uh,
going home, my dad would turn it on and we would listen to the sounds, the creaking door and then dong. And then one of my other favorites, not doing radio theater per se, but satire and so forth. One of my other favorite heroes, also passed on, is Stan Freberg.
uh,
What a great fun, a lot of fun, and a lot of great stuff he put out that I now have on my computer. I have the albums and on and on and on. I'm wondering if you have ever thought, because I know that some of the screenplays obviously would have to be adapted for an audio presentation or an audio dramatization. And there are actually books on Audible that are dramatizations. One in particular that I love, and I actually have the cassette tape series that I bought back in 1990 called oh come on, The Goal. The Goal was what it was called. And
GOAL, the goal.
GOAL. It's not an acronym, I do not believe. And I will just, without spoiling anything for you, the message that I got from the book was just because we've always done it this way, does that mean we have to? So that would be my question to you in terms of the way in which we do things. And I know people are using AI like it's going out of style.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here thinking, my question when we go to new technologies, whether it's in medicine or whatever it is just because we can, does that mean we should? Would you ever consider, if you haven't already, using AI to help you write?
No, absolutely not. I do appreciate the Google search
Hmm.
because it gets me to places faster. Way back when, I spent so much time at the library doing my research and trying to find the right book and the right chapter and that kind of stuff. So, in that way, the help that it gets me in research is great. Would I ever ask it to write for me? Absolutely not. Just because I love what I do.
Hmm.
And it's not about product. It's not about getting 5,000 more books out there or plays. It's about the process that I take, the journey I take in my mind as I create. And we all think, well, it can't be as good as when it comes from a human being, and who knows, who's ever judging it. But I think as creative people, I think it's just not something that very many people are interested in.
Jules Selbo is my guest. I'm Richard Dugan, sitting in for Elizabeth Stewart here on Arts and Antiques, and we're talking with Jules Selbo, and of course, an event that's taking place August 8th in Ojai. And is there a, because I don't have that in front of me, a name for the theater that they're going to be, that this play, which is Mary Shelley, and I'm trying to get to the title, the
Like
full title.
a year with no
A
summer.
year with no summer, not a year without summer, a year with no summer. Um,
It's at the Ojai Performing Arts Theater, and they shorten it to OPAT, OPAT, and that's where it's going to be. And I know there's a big party on opening night afterwards that people can pay a few extra bucks and come to, which would be fun.
all right, very good. Well, we'll talk more about that and some of the other things that you've written as we continue here on Arts and Antiques. I'm Richard Dugan, and we'll be back in just a moment. We're back here on Arts and Antiques. I'm Richard Dugan, sitting in for Elizabeth Stewart with Jules Selbo, and this is fascinating to talk with people. I mean, I do it all the time on my program, Tell Me Your Story. And most of the work, most of the novels, am I correct, that you have written are fiction, correct?
Well, I when we asked me what genre that I like to write in, so the crime mystery is where I'm putting most of my energies right now, and then I have done three historical fictions, which I love doing because I love doing research, um, and as far as okay, what did you ask me?
Well, in terms of writing other than fiction, and
Oh
obviously you
yes.
said
Um,
it's still fiction, but it's using real historical settings.
Yes, yes. And well, the only reason it becomes fiction is because you put words in these people's mouths.
Hmm.
I wrote a book about Laura Bassi, who it's called Breaking Barriers, The Life of Laura Bassi. And in 1750, Bologna, Italy, she was a young woman who desperately wanted a great education. She wanted to go to university. I'm sure she must have been a genius, totally smart, but the doors were shut for women at the time. But she had this great father who had the ability to bring people to their homes and create these little salons. And she was able to sit in the back or up on the stairway and listen to all these great scientists and inventors. And she learned and learned and learned. And she and he built a little classroom in their carriage house. And as she got, strong, more educated, um, yeah, other people who were coming to the university wanted to go to her barn classroom. So, because she was doing these great experiments. And finally, the university says, we're losing people to you. You have to come over here and we want you to be able to take these classes. Well, I mean, they still made it terribly difficult for her.
Mm,
And the book was just so much fun to write because she was little known at the time, but now I see a lot of things where people are kind of knowing about her.
hmm.
But because there wasn't this biography or that biography that I could go to, I had to I had to research all the people around her.
Mm.
Like Volta worked with her. She worked with Galvani. She was pen pals with Ben Franklin and Voltaire and all these amazing people. So I had to research her by going through all of their lives and the University of Bologna, where she ended up as the first person ever to start an experimental physics department.
Wow.
So that's the kind of it's his based on history, but once I have her talking and I can't say, oh, well, actually did say that, then it becomes fiction too.
Yeah.
So it's historical fiction.
And that's different than if you see up on the screen based upon a true story. Is that considered a fiction, or are they trying to tell the true story, but obviously they're going to take liberties because it's television or movies?
Yeah, it could be both of those. It became very popular to put that title on the screen because there was a thought that people then became more interested. So yeah, they could be loosely based, or it could have been based on this story, but to protect the people and so that people wouldn't sue us or whatever,
Yeah.
some things have been changed.
Yeah, I remember that line, you know, some of the names have been changed to protect the innocent, a la Dragnet.
Yeah.
Tells you how
Yeah.
far back I go. Fascinating stuff. Is there a particular place that you really, really enjoy presenting your work, specifically, let's say your screenplays on the stage? Is there a particular location that just you like? Okay, I like going to the other place like Ojai and Los Angeles and New York and wherever else you go. But is there one in particular that you go, I really want to do this play and I really want to do it here?
I think what most writers will come to is I want to do it with these people. And it's
Okay.
people that you trust who, I mean, according to the Dramatists Guild, which playwrights belong to, um, the actors, the director are not allowed to change a period or a comma, one word, an and or a the without talking to the playwright. And so if you're a living playwright and you actually find people who do treat you with that respect, it's just gold. It's really nice because Richard Camp, the director of the Mary Shelley play, he'll send me an email and go, I got to get the actor from this place to this place, and I need a line, or, can we move this section to here because I think it makes the flow better? And you go, oh, yeah. So you open up your script and you kind of talk it through. And most of the time he's right because he's actually now taking the play to the next step, which is
Mm,
putting it on stage with actors. And that's why you write plays because you ultimately want that collaboration. Whereas novels, you pretty much like it your way. I mean, you work with an editor, but at the end, after you do it, but there's not that collaboration. And in
yeah.
screenwriting, of course, there's even more collaboration than playwriting because you've got cameraman, lighting, location, budget, studios.
Yeah.
So I think that people, and I think that's why you find actors and directors, they've kind of sometimes form little groups, and they like to work together because they trust each other and they work in similar styles that complement each other.
Yeah. I have to say that by comparison, I think of the dilemma that singer-songwriters have with their work, and that when they first start out, maybe they write their own stuff, but they don't have quite the freedom until they become, moderately famous, and then they can do whatever the heck they want. I mean,
Uh-huh.
because I have an affinity for John Denver, I know his story, and I know the struggles that he went through initially until he said, to heck with you record companies. I'm going to sing and perform and record what I want to sing and record and perform. When you write a screenplay, and let's say you go to opening night or some other night that it's being performed, and they say something you didn't write, how does that make you feel?
Well, it's kind of way after the fact in a screenplay. If you're going to the movie theater and seeing there's nothing you can do. How does it make you feel? Terrible. Um, Especially if it's not something that you think is correct for the character or for
Hmm.
the story. I've had a couple of experiences like that, and you're dying 1,000 deaths, and then you have to just kind of pick yourself up and go, well, hopefully I'll find the right person. You mentioned George Lucas, and I worked with him for 4 years on Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. And we wrote this, we worked out the stories with George. There were 6 writers. All of us worked out the stories together. And then one writer would go home and write the script. And then we would have meetings with George on that script. Maybe somebody else in the group would read the script or not. You'd get a few notes, and then you'd listen, of course, to what George wanted. Then George would give it to the director and say, "Don't change a word. We've worked on this. We like it this way. Don't change anything." And that was just the biggest gift to any writer,
Hmm.
because there are some directors who just go, they think of it as the blueprint,
Right.
and then it becomes theirs.
Yeah.
I did some animation for Disney, and that's you add another layer because
Oh,
you write the script, you work with the studio executives, give you notes, you rewrite the script, and then it goes usually overseas to the animation people. And those are totally amazingly creative people too. And so they're drawing away and they get excited about a character or a scene, and they start building it out because they're having fun drawing it and stuff. You don't know what's going to come back.
yeah. I know there was I saw something about the movie Jaws, and there's one line that Roy Scheider ad-libbed, and the director kept it in, and that was, "You're going to need a bigger boat."
Yeah.
That one line was not in the script, according
Yeah.
to what I saw on a little short. Now,
Yeah.
if you are producing a movie with with actors such as the late Robin Williams, don't you kind of, with people like that, don't you kind of, sort of, in a way, throw the script away? Or do you try to rein them in a little bit? Because there are others like him who love to ad lib, who love to improv. It's their trademark, it's their brand.
Yeah, I think that, you do have the luxury of lots of different takes. So you can go, okay, Robin, this is yours, do what you want. Or, hey, Robin, let's stick as close to the script as we can on this. I was listening to a great podcast by Dan Aykroyd the other day, and he was talking about Ghostbusters
Hmm.
and how Bill Murray, every take at a certain, every take of this certain scene, Bill Murray came up with a new line for something, and just people were just like, so they had the luxury of going through the takes and going, we like that one the best.
Yeah.
And maybe they had one where he didn't say anything, which is what he was supposed to do, but he had kind of just, he always put a button on this one scene, and and so they just had the luxury of choosing. Yeah, if you're working with someone that's that amazing,
Yeah.
it's wonderful, I
Yeah.
think.
And
But you
sometimes,
do the
go ahead.
story has to come through, in my opinion.
Oh, no, you don't want to lose the story in the improv. But by the same token, I know people even like Jim Carrey, who, from what I understand, is no longer in the industry. He says, I'm out of here." He basically he did a few lines in some of the movies that he was in too,
Yeah,
and a lot of times too, you can actually. Here's another fun part of this: you can actually say a particular line so many different ways, and the director may say, "Hey, could you do that with this or with that?" And eventually, after 5 or 6 or 8 or I don't know, 20 or 30 takes, they've chosen number 16 to put into the film,
yeah.
and away you go.
And that's
Go
what's
ahead.
so exciting about having a play on stage, because you rehearse and you rehearse and you rehearse. Actors have to memorize the lines. The other actors are relying on them to say this or this line or that line, so they know what to say. And you don't have that ability to choose take after take. So
Right.
that's exciting, and I think that's why people like live theater,
Oh
because
yeah.
um
You never
it's
know what's going to happen.
yeah.
Yeah. Uh, the another television program that we used to watch as a kid, I used to watch as a kid growing up, the Carol Burnett Show.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely loved it. And of course, my favorites were when Harvey and Tim were trying to bust each other up.
Yeah.
And it was just hilarious. Or even when the cast would conspire against one of the other cast members. They did one against Harvey, where she was supposed to do a particular thing, and they switched it around. And it's like, okay, so what's Harvey going to do? How's he going to react? How's he going to respond? What's his next line going to be? Because odds are the line he was supposed to deliver probably wouldn't fit. It wouldn't
Yeah.
make any sense.
Yeah.
And again, that's the fun of, even though I know they would rehearse and record it to get the best take they could in front of a live audience. Um, that's got to be something too that's exciting for you as well. When you're watching the performance, uh, have you been gratified by the reactions to your screenplays performed on stage by the audience, where they're reacting the way you hope they would, and they are getting the message and so forth in the right places, as opposed to, oh, they weren't supposed to laugh there, that wasn't supposed to be funny, and yet that's
Yeah.
the audience. What are you going to do?
Yeah, it is interesting because I've had plays done at some of the theaters here in Portland, and I've had plays done out in LA. There's one that Theater West did called Boxes, and I was it was just it was about this young woman who gets pulled into this kind of manipulative man's world
Mm.
and doesn't know how to get out, but she gets so sucked in, and then she figures it out. And there was the actors were amazing. The director was amazing, this woman named Mary Lou Belli, and people came back to the theater. I mean, they came back to see the play 3, 4 times. And
Oh,
that's what
wow.
really, I was just like, oh my God. Just because it took them on a ride, and even though they knew the end and it was a surprising end, even that they knew the end, they
Mhm.
still came back to see how the playwright, me, and the director got her there.
Yeah. And again, that's the other aspect of it. I was very fortunate here in Santa Barbara. There's a group called the Revels, the Santa Barbara Revels, and they do a performance every Christmas. And I was part of their ensemble for 2 years. And the year that we did Christmas at Ellis Island, 1924, I was one of the Irish soldiers, and I was to sing a portion of the song from oh my goodness, In the Trenches, I think was the song, having to do with how we met in no man's land and we shook hands and we exchanged cigarettes and brandy and so on and so forth. And we did, I think, four total performances. And it was in one of those performances that I got up and I began to sing and move towards the German soldier carrying the Christmas tree and all of the accoutrements and so forth. And I started to cry because I started to feel like I was there in World War One, wondering why are we doing this? Not the connectedness, the community of Christmas Eve, but the fighting. And I actually had to really get control of myself because I had a final line that said, "And and under the lights we gave them hell in the soccer game," and you couldn't have tears rolling down your face with that line. And the actor who played the German soldier afterwards says, "I know you almost made me break up." And I explained to her why. Do you is that kind of what you want from the actors, say on stage specifically? We'll stay with the theater, where they really immerse themselves not only in the character but in the genre, in the era, in the events that are going on around them, to where they're really genuinely emoting.
Oh, sure. You hope that the actors have found something in the character that they really relate to, that they can embody. And then, sometimes it's like what you went through. Sometimes it's just the rehearsal and the technique and the fact that they're good actors and they can do it. And then some nights it's going to be magical for them
Yeah.
and it's going to be at a different level. I trained as an actress when I was younger, and I did a little bit of acting in New York before I started getting paid to write. And it is, you just hope for those moments where you just, whoa,
Yeah.
you're just there.
You read my script at this on this side here. That was my next question. Have you ever done any acting? And I'm curious, have you ever thought about performing in one of your plays or screenplays?
No, I was very, very happy when I started one of my earliest jobs. I had a play that was done off Broadway, and it got me an agent and a job writing on a daytime soap. And once I started making a living as a writer, I was just jumping up and down. And then I went to work for George Romero on Tales from the Dark Side and Monsters. And then I wrote a screenplay that was bought out in LA. So then I moved to LA, and I was very lucky. I just kept working in a whole bunch of different genres too, in
Mhm.
TV and film and animation. And when I moved to Portland, because it's a smaller community, I was asked that question, would you like to try out for this play?
Mhm.
And I just was like, oh my God, no. Um, because, I think most writers are introverts. And even though I loved being an actress and I really had a great time, once I didn't have to, um, I felt, I don't know, I mean, that was the entree. And I learned a lot as an actress to become a writer. I learned what an actor can do with words, how much is too much. Um, so I think the acting chops training worked really well
Yeah.
in training for a writer.
I was going to say you've had the experience in front and now you're behind and it's like, okay, well, I remember what that was like. I mean, I'm not an actor, not in that context. I just had fun doing it. And a lot of people will ask the question of people up on stage or in the movies or television, were you nervous? And I can honestly say in both the plays that I was in, the 2 years I was there, I wasn't nervous because I was up there with all of these other people. And so I feel safe. I feel secure and it's okay. And then the other thing that occurred to me too was like in the singing of that song, I can't be nervous because this is what they expect me to do. This is what I'm supposed to do. Like on my job, I'm supposed to produce this program. I'm supposed to sit in for Elizabeth and ask questions of the guest and so forth. There's no time to be nervous.
Right.
And I say my first general manager in a radio reading service for the blind and visually impaired back in 1979 when I started, when I was panicking at the console because I was brand new at this game, she said, "I'll tell you what. Here's what I'll promise you. If you will wait to have your little pity party, your panic attack over in the corner later, we'll solve the problem first. We'll get everything squared away, and then you can go over in the corner and you can panic." Well, of course, when we had solved the problem, I had no need to or desire to go over into the corner,
Right.
but it was like shift back to what it is that you're here to do.
Yeah.
And again, I know that I watch, for example, I don't know if you ever watch America's Got Talent or any of these talent programs or not, and the people get up there to sing. I heard something wonderful the other day, and I'm curious as to whether you incorporate music and singing in your screenplays, but they said that for people to be afraid of singing is ridiculous. The reason they say that is because even when you are talking like I am right now, I'm singing.
Hmm.
It's just not the way most people would think of it. There's no
Hmm.
vibrato. I can't create a vibrato by the words I'm saying right now. But if I was to put notes to it, move it around, yeah, maybe I could put that in there. And I thought, wow, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, I think that is interesting. I think that because I can't sing a lick, and I've been told that my whole life, and so I'm nervous. I wouldn't get up and sing in front of people because I know I'm going to be off key, all that stuff.
There's a
But
greater vulnerability there, isn't there?
yeah, but then what is it? I mean, maybe, but that's just because of the expectations
Right.
of that. And
Yeah.
that's what, I think that's what rap music has kind of done. Is like they are talk singing, and it's the lyrics and it's the ideas.
Yeah.
And I like that what you said. I'm going to keep that in mind because I do like to sing. I just nobody wants to hear me sing.
Well, let me put it this way. As long as you are having fun and enjoying yourself and it makes you happy, sing. If
Yeah.
even if it's just in the shower, go ahead and sing. Or roll up the windows in the car. You know, it's fascinating. And do you incorporate music into your screenplays? Have you done musicals at all?
Well, I have in some of the work that I've done for Disney, they have been musicals, some of the animation stuff, and then I did a way before the Maleficent movie that we all know. I had been working on one for Disney, and Whitney Houston was supposed to play Maleficent, and unfortunately, she, had her problems,
Hmm.
so it never got made. But it was interesting writing those scripts because you knew that, I mean, a musical supposedly is people break into song when the emotion gets too big for just words. And so you get to those uh, moments where you know a song should be, but you also want the song to push the story forward also. So that it's just not, let's stop now and sing a song. Let's let the song actually move the plot along.
Hmm.
And so as a writer, you're tending, and I started writing lyrics or dialogue that rhymed and stuff like that. And you're not supposed to as a writer because ASCAP is very strict union. And unless you're a member of ASCAP, you're not supposed to be writing lyrics. I am now a member of ASCAP, so I can do it. Um, and but
Ow.
and so people like there was a animation series that I was working on with a woman named Holly Huckins, and she was the executive producer of it. And she said, "I want us to write the lyrics because I want them to be just moving the story forward." And she went to battle with whoever she had to battle with. And so we all had to join ASCAP, and we got a chance to do that uh, because I mean, it's fun. And
Mhm.
obviously, the really, really great trained lyricists are incredible. And my little rhyming things probably weren't going to be as good as their stuff anyway. But it is becomes in the flow of the writing.
Mm. We are talking with Jewel Selbo and the performance of Mary Shelley, A World with No Summer, on August 8th in Ojai. And this is the Arts and Antiques radio program with Elizabeth Stewart. I'm Richard Dugan sitting in. We'll be right back. And we are wrapping things up here with our very special guest, Jewel Selbo. And Jewel, this has been a lot of fun, and I know people are going to have fun going to see Mary Shelley, A World with No Summer. Again, I have no problem with that. Bring it on. It'll be performed. It'll be
Yeah,
performed
and
in Ojai.
it's a historical look at Mary Shelley's life, her relationship with Percy Shelley, the creation of Frankenstein, but there's a lot of humor in it and a lot of great scenes and a lot of great characters. So yeah, I'm hoping people will come see it.
You know what occurred to me when we were talking earlier about actors giving the lines that they were given by the screenwriter, the writer, what have you. And it made me think of the book by Mark Twain, Huckleberry Finn, and how people in their political correctness said, we need to change some of the words in the book because they're really not a good word to be using. And I just sat there going, "Are you kidding me?" So then I can go into the Bible and I can go in and I can change certain words that I think are offensive. Twain was writing about an era in which they spoke that way.
Right.
Like many other books, like your books, going back to whatever era, whatever year and time you're going to use the vernaculars. And people, in my opinion, people need to they need to calm down just a little bit, just a little bit, and
I think it's
understand.
better to think of it as history and
Mhm.
why mess with it? This was the time period and we can learn a lot
Yeah. So
and go.
what's after Mary Shelley, A World with No Summer, August 8th in Ojai?
Well, I'm working on the next novel in my D. Rommel mystery series, which will be 6 days.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have something else that I want to work on, but I won't talk about it yet.
Okay.
Something that is very interesting, and I've just been thinking about it for a week and doing research and stuff like that. So,
Well, very
yeah, I have
cool.
some good, fun things ahead for myself, I think.
Well, folks, look for new stuff from Jewel Selbo, but also look for Mary Shelley, A World with No Summer at the Ojai Theater in Ojai, of course, on August the 8th. We hope to see you there. And Jewel, once again, thank you so much for coming on the program. And I'm hoping that next time Elizabeth will be with you to have a wonderful conversation as well.
Thank you, Richard. Thanks for having me.
And folks, thank you for listening to Arts and Antiques, and we hope that you will join Elizabeth again next week at the same time for this program here on KZSB AM and FM. That's AM 1290, FM 96.9, and streaming live at AM 1290KZSB.com. This is the station that talks about Santa Barbara. All right. Very
Thank you.
good. Thank you so
Thanks.
much. Yep, that was the wrong
Yeah.
button. Try this one.